Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the UES Titan and watched the stars through the main screen. The ship was quiet except for the soft hum of the engines. His crew worked at their stations, checking systems and running tests like they did every day, but today felt different. Today, something was about to change everything. The communication panel started beeping. Lieutenant Ben Parker looked up from his station with surprise on his face. "Captain, we're getting a signal from deep space. It's not from Earth or any of our colonies." Morrison walked over to Parker's station. "Where is it coming from?"
About
40 light years away, sir. The signal is strong and clear. It's definitely meant for us." Parker put his hand on his earpiece and listened carefully. "Captain, this is incredible. You're speaking perfect English. Put it on the main speakers," Morrison said. A calm voice filled the bridge. The words were clear, but the accent was strange, like someone who had learned English from old books. "Greetings to the people of Earth. We are the Galactic Council. We represent 12 civilized worlds in this part of the galaxy. We have been watching your species develop for many years. You have reached the level where you can join our community. We invite you to send representatives to our capital world." The voice paused for a moment. "We understand this may come as a surprise to you. Please know that we come in peace and friendship. We have much to offer each other. Send your reply when you are ready. We will be waiting." The signal ended. Bridge was completely silent. Morrison looked around at his crew. They all stared back at him with wide eyes and open mouths. "Well," Morrison said quietly, "I guess we're not alone after all." Commander Amy Brooks was the first to speak. "Captain, should we contact Earth Command right away?" "Yes, but first, let's make sure we recorded everything correctly." Parker, play that message again. I want everyone to hear it twice. As the alien message played again, Morrison thought about what this meant. Humans had always wondered if there was other intelligent life in the universe. Now they had their answer. Not only were there aliens, but they had been watching Earth for years. They knew enough about humans to speak English perfectly. After the message ended, Morrison ordered Parker to send an immediate report to Earth Command. Within an hour, Admiral Lisa Kane's face appeared on the communication screen. She looked serious, but excited. "Jake, this is the biggest thing that has ever happened to our species," Kane said. "Every government on Earth is talking about this. The president wants to send a ship to meet with these aliens as soon as possible." "The Titan is ready, Admiral. Can leave whenever you give the order." Kane nodded.
Yes.
"That's exactly what I hoped you would say. Jake, you and your ship are going to represent all of humanity. No pressure, right?" Morrison smiled despite the weight of responsibility he felt. "We won't let you down, Admiral." Over the next few days, Morrison learned everything he could about the message and what it might mean. Earth's best scientists studied the signal and found things that amazed them. The aliens had technology that was far beyond anything humans had created. Their communication system could send messages across dozens of light years instantly. Their ships could travel faster than anything Earth had ever built. But Morrison also learned something else. The scientists who studied the message noticed something interesting about the way the aliens spoke. They used words like peaceful community and civilized worlds. They talked about friendship and cooperation. They never mentioned anything about weapons or military forces or defense. Dr. Helen Ross, Earth's top expert on alien life, came aboard the Titan before they left. She was a small woman with gray hair and smart eyes. She sat in Morrison's office and shared her thoughts about the aliens. "Captain, I think these beings have lived in peace for a very long time," she said. "Maybe hundreds or thousands of years. They don't seem to think about war or conflict at all." Morrison leaned back in his chair. "What makes you think that?" "The way they talk. It's the words they choose. When humans meet strangers, we always think about whether they might be dangerous. We ask questions about their weapons and their armies. These aliens didn't ask us anything like that. They just assumed we would be peaceful like them." Morrison looked out the window of his office at the stars. "Dr. Ross, what do you think they'll say when they see the Titan?" Dr. Ross was quiet for a moment. "I don't know, Captain. The Titan is a warship. It was built to fight battles and destroy enemies. So these aliens might not understand why we would build something like that. The Titan was indeed a warship. and it was the most powerful ship humans had ever created. It took 15 years to build in the secret shipyards hidden in the asteroid belt. The ship was over a mile long and carried enough weapons to destroy entire fleets. Its armor could stop any weapon Earth had ever made. Its engines could push it faster than any other human ship. But the Titan was more than just weapons and armor. It carried the best technology humans had developed over centuries of war and conflict. Every system on the ship was designed by people who understood that survival meant being ready to fight. The crew trained constantly for battles that might never come. Morrison walked through the ship, watched his crew prepare for the journey. These men and women were soldiers and warriors. They had spent their lives learning how to fight and win. They knew things that most humans never had to learn. They understood tactics and strategy and combat in ways that came from thousands of years of human warfare, as the Titan prepared to leave Earth's solar system. Morrison stood on the bridge and thought about what they were about to do. They were going to meet aliens who had lived in peace for generations. They were bringing with them a ship designed for war and a crew trained for battle. He wondered what would happen when two completely different ways of thinking about the universe finally met each other. "All stations report ready, Captain," Commander Brooks said. Morrison took a deep breath. "Take us out, Commander. Let's go meet our new neighbors." The Titan's engines came to life, and the ship began moving toward the edge of the solar system. Behind them, Earth grew smaller and smaller, until it was just another point of light among the stars. Ahead of them lay the unknown, and the most important meeting in human history. The Titan dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Kepler system. Captain Morrison felt his stomach settle as the ship returned to normal space. The journey had taken 3 weeks, but it felt like they had traveled to a completely different universe, Captain. "We have multiple contacts on sensors," Commander Brooks called out from her station. "I count at least 30 ships moving toward our position." Morrison walked to the center of the bridge. "Are they armed?" Brooks studied her screens carefully. "Sir, I don't see any weapons on any of these ships. They look like passenger ships or cargo vessels. It's very advanced, but not military." "That's strange," Morrison said quietly. 30 ships coming to meet one unknown vessel, and none of them are warships?" Lieutenant Parker looked up from his communication station. "Captain, we're receiving a message from the lead ship. Put it through, Parker." A new voice came through the speakers. This one sounded different from the first message they had received weeks ago. The speaker seemed excited and curious. "Greetings, ship from Earth. I am Admiral Zethkar of the Zentari people. I speak for the Galactic Council's welcome fleet. We are very happy to finally meet you in person." Morrison stepped forward. "Admiral Zethkar, this is Captain Jake Morrison of the Earth ship Titan. We're honored to be here. The honor is ours." "Captain Morrison, we have been looking forward to this meeting for many years. Your ship is quite impressive. We have never seen anything quite like it before." Morrison glanced at Brooks, who raised her eyebrows. The alien admiral sounded genuinely curious, not worried or suspicious. "Thank you, Admiral. The Titan represents some of our best technology. Yes, we can see that." "Captain Morrison, may I ask what type of vessel the Titan is?" "Our sensors are having difficulty understanding its design and purpose." Morrison paused. This was the question he had been expecting, but he still wasn't sure how to answer it. "Admiral Zethkar, the Titan is a military vessel. It was designed for combat operations and fleet defense." Communication channel went completely silent. Morrison counted the seconds. 5, 10, 15. Finally, Admiral Zethkar's voice came back, but it sounded different now, confused. "Captain Morrison, I apologize, but I think our translators may not be working correctly. Did you say your ship was designed for combat?" "Yes, Admiral. The Titan is what we call a Dreadnought-class warship." Another long silence followed. Morrison could hear quiet voices speaking in the background on the alien ship. The words were in a language he didn't understand, but the tone sounded urgent and worried. Lieutenant Parker quietly reported to Morrison. "Captain, I'm picking up a lot of chatter between the alien ships. The computer is trying to translate, but they're using words that don't seem to exist in their normal language. They keep saying something that translates to conflict maker and harm ship." Morrison nodded. Keep monitoring, Parker. Admiral Zethkar's voice returned. Captain Morrison, this is very unusual for us. In our experience, ships are built for exploration, trade, or transportation. We have not encountered a vessel designed for combat, in many centuries. Could you help us understand why your people build such ships? Morrison thought carefully about his answer. Admiral Earth has a long history of conflict between different groups of people. We build military ships to protect ourselves and our allies from those who might wish to harm us. Protect from whom? Admiral Zethkar asked. Are there hostile species in your part of the galaxy? Not in space, Admiral. The conflicts on Earth have been between different human nations and groups. We've been fighting wars for thousands of years. The silence that followed was the longest yet. When Admiral Zethkar finally spoke again, his voice was very quiet. Captain Morrison, are you saying that your own species fights wars against itself? Yes, Admiral. That's correct. Hello, Morrison. Heard what sounded like several aliens talking at once on the other end of the communication. The voices sounded shocked and confused. Dr. Ross, who had been standing quietly at the back of the bridge, stepped forward. Captain, perhaps I should explain, she said. Morrison nodded. Admiral Zethkar, this is Dr. Helen Ross, our expert on alien contact. She might be able to help clarify things. Hello, Dr. Ross. Please, we are very confused by what Captain Morrison has told us. Dr. Ross spoke in her calm, professional voice. Admiral, human beings have evolved to be competitive and sometimes aggressive. Throughout our history, different groups of humans have fought over resources, territory, and ideas. These conflicts have shaped our technology and our thinking. But Dr. Ross, how do you achieve anything if you are always fighting each other? We don't fight all the time, Admiral. Most of the time, we cooperate and work together. But we've learned that we must be prepared to defend ourselves when cooperation fails. Admiral Zethkar was quiet for a long moment. Dr. Ross, Captain Morrison, this is very difficult for us to understand. The races in the Galactic Council have not fought wars in over 3,000 years. We have learned to solve all our problems through discussion and cooperation. Commander Brooks turned to Morrison and whispered, Captain, the alien ships are changing formation. They're not acting threatening, but they're definitely being more careful about how they approach us. Morrison nodded and spoke to the alien. Admiral Zethkar, I want to make something very clear. Earth comes in peace. We have no desire to fight with you or anyone in the Galactic Council. We hope to learn from you and contribute to your peaceful community. Thank you, Captain Morrison. That is very reassuring to hear, but I must be honest with you. What you have told us is quite shocking to our people. The idea that intelligent beings would fight wars against their own species is something we have never encountered before. As the conversation continued, Morrison watched through the main screen as the alien ships moved around the Titan. The ships were beautiful and elegant, with smooth curves and bright colors. They looked like they were built for exploration and wonder, not for battle. There were no visible weapons, no armor plating, no defensive systems that Morrison could see. Admiral Zethkar, may I ask you something? Morrison said. Captain, what do you do if someone threatens you or your people? Another pause followed. Captain Morrison, no one has threatened anyone in the Galactic Council for many generations. We have no need for threats or violence. Everyone has what they need. Everyone works together. Morrison looked around at his crew. They were all listening carefully to the conversation, and he could see the same thought in all their eyes. These aliens had created a perfect, peaceful society, but they had no idea how to defend it. Admiral Morrison said carefully, What would you do if someone from outside the Galactic Council came and wanted to take your worlds by force? The longest silence yet followed this question. When Admiral Zethkar finally answered, his voice was very small. Captain Morrison, we do not know. We have never thought about such a thing. Morrison realized that the galaxy was about to change in ways that none of them could imagine. The meeting room on Orbital Station Prime was unlike anything Captain Morrison had ever seen. The walls were made of some kind of crystal that sparkled with soft light. The ceiling was transparent, showing the beautiful blue and green planet. Below, around a large circular table, sat representatives from 12 different alien species. Morrison walked into the room with Dr. Ross at his side. He tried not to stare at the aliens, but it was impossible not to be amazed. Some looked almost human, but with different colored skin and larger eyes. Others were completely different, with extra arms or strange head shapes. But all of them had the same calm, peaceful expression on their faces. Chancellor Vex High of the Altarian Republic stood up to greet them. He was tall and thin, with pale blue skin and silver hair. When he smiled, Morrison could see that his teeth were perfectly white and straight. "Captain Morrison, Dr. Ross, welcome to our capital world. We are honored to have the first humans visit our home." "Thank you, Chancellor." "We're honored to be here," Morrison replied. They sat down at the table, and Chancellor Vexai began asking questions. He wanted to know about Earth's population, what resources humans needed, and what technologies they could share with the galaxy. The questions were polite and friendly, just like a business meeting. Morrison answered each question honestly. He told them about Earth's cities and farms, about human art and music, about the medicines and computers that humans had invented. The aliens nodded and took notes, seeming pleased with everything they heard. Then Chancellor Vex High asked the question that Morrison had been waiting for. "Captain Morrison, we are still confused about your ship. You called it a warship. Could you explain what that means exactly?" Morrison looked around the table at all the alien faces watching him. "Chancellor, the Titan is designed to fight battles in space. It has weapons that can destroy other ships, and armor that can protect it from enemy attacks." Several of the aliens began talking quietly to each other. Morrison heard his translator device trying to make sense of words that seemed to have no equivalent in their languages. A small alien with gray skin and large black eyes raised her hand. "Captain Morrison, when you say enemy attacks, what do you mean? Who would attack you?" "Well," Morrison said carefully, "throughout human history, it's different groups of people have fought each other over territory, resources, or ideas. We build warships to protect ourselves in case those conflicts move into space." The gray alien looked confused. "But why would anyone want to fight? Why not just talk and find a solution that makes everyone happy?" Dr. Ross leaned forward. "That's exactly what we hope to do here. But humans have learned that sometimes not everyone wants to find a peaceful solution. Some people prefer to take what they want by force." Chancellor Vex High frowned. "Dr. Ross, this is very difficult for us to understand. It's in the Galactic Council. We have learned that violence never solves anything. We always find ways to share and cooperate." "That's wonderful," Morrison said. "We admire that very much. But what happens if someone refuses to cooperate? What if they want to take your world by force?" The room became very quiet. The aliens looked at each other with expressions Morrison had never seen before. They looked confused and worried. A large alien with red skin and 4 arms spoke up. "Captain Morrison, such a thing has never happened. No one in the galaxy would do such a thing. But what if they did?" Morrison pressed gently. "What would you do to protect your people?" The silence stretched on for a long time. Finally, Chancellor Vexai spoke very quietly. "We do not know. We have no experience with such things." Dr. Ross could see that the aliens were becoming upset. "Perhaps we could show you what we mean," she suggested.
"Captain Morrison could
"You demonstrate the Titan's defensive capabilities, just so our new friends can understand what we're talking about?" Morrison thought about this carefully. "I think that's a good idea. You could do a simple demonstration that wouldn't harm anything." Chancellor Vex High looked around the table at the other aliens. They whispered among themselves for several minutes. Finally, he nodded. "Yes, we would like to see this demonstration. We want to understand." 2 hours later, a small fleet of alien observer ships followed the Titan to the outer edge of the star system. Morrison stood on his bridge and looked at the huge asteroids floating in space around them. Some were as big as cities. Commander Brooks set up a standard defensive exercise. "Use the point defense systems only," Sir Brooks replied. She turned to her weapons console and began selecting targets. On the communication channel, Morrison could hear the aliens talking excitedly among themselves. They had never seen anything like this before. Beginning demonstration, Brooks announced that the Titan's point defense guns came to life. Bright beams of energy shot out from the ship and struck several asteroids at once. The rocks exploded into clouds of dust and small pieces. The guns moved quickly from target to target, destroying asteroid after asteroid with perfect accuracy. The alien communication channels went completely silent. Morrison ordered Brooks to demonstrate the ship's maneuvering capabilities. The massive Titan moved through space like a dancer, spinning and turning in ways that seemed impossible for such a large ship. It dodged between asteroids while continuing to fire at targets. Still no sound from the alien ships. "One more demonstration," Morrison said. "Brooks, target that large asteroid with the main gun. Single shot. Minimum power." Brooks looked at him with concern. "Sir, even at minimum power, the main gun will completely destroy that asteroid." "I know. Do it." The main gun charged up with a deep humming sound that could be felt throughout the ship. A beam of pure energy shot out from the Titan and struck an asteroid the size of a small moon. For a moment, the asteroid glowed white-hot. Then it simply vanished. It turned into a cloud of gas and tiny particles. The silence from the alien ships continued for several minutes. Finally, Chancellor Vex's voice came through the communication system. He spoke so quietly that Morrison had to strain to hear him. "Captain Morrison, please return to the station immediately. Oh, we need to talk." As the Titan began moving back toward the capital world, Morrison watched the alien ships on his screen. They were flying in tight formations, staying as close together as possible. For the first time since they had arrived, the aliens looked afraid. Dr. Ross stood beside Morrison and watched the alien ships. "Captain, I think they're beginning to understand what it means to live in a universe where not everyone is peaceful." Morrison nodded. "The question is, what are they going to do about it?" Captain Morrison walked into the emergency meeting room on Orbital Station Prime. The atmosphere was completely different from their first meeting. The aliens sat around the table with worried expressions on their faces. Some of them kept looking at small devices in their hands, reading reports that made them frown even more. Chancellor Vex High stood up when Morrison and Dr. Ross entered the room. His normally calm voice shook slightly when he spoke. "Captain Morrison, thank you for returning so quickly. We have much to discuss." Morrison sat down and looked around the table. All 12 species leaders were present, along with several aliens he hadn't seen before. "Chancellor, we're ready to answer any questions you have." "Captain, what we saw today has changed everything for us. Before we continue, we need to share something with you, something we have never told any new species before." Chancellor Vexa pressed a button on the table, and the crystal walls around them began showing pictures. Morrison saw images of space battles, burning planets and destroyed cities. The pictures were old and grainy, but the destruction was clear. 3,000 years ago, our 12 species were at war, Chancellor Vexai began. We fought over resources, territory, and old grudges. Entire worlds were destroyed. Billions of beings died. Our civilizations nearly destroyed each other completely. Morrison watched the images with growing understanding. These peaceful aliens had once been warriors, just like humans. The survivors of those wars came together and made a promise. The Chancellor continued. We would never fight again. We dismantled all our weapons. We turned our warships into cargo vessels and exploration ships. We built our society around the idea that violence would never again be necessary. A small alien with purple skin spoke. Up, Captain Morrison. We have been successful for 3,000 years. No one in the Galactic Council has fought a war or even a small battle in all that time. Dr. Ross leaned forward. That's an incredible achievement. You've built exactly the kind of peaceful society that many humans dream about. Yes, said Chancellor. Vex sighed sadly. But today we realize something terrible. We've been living in a dream. We forgot that peace only works when everyone chooses to be peaceful. Commander Brooks' voice came through Morrison's communication device. Captain, I'm seeing a lot of movement in the system. The alien fleets are taking defensive positions around their home worlds. Morrison spoke quietly into his device. Are they armed? No, sir. They're just grouping together like they're trying to protect something, but they don't have any weapons to protect it with. Morrison looked back at the aliens around the table. Chancellor, are your people afraid? Yes, Captain. very afraid. Not of you, but of what you represent.
Oh.
For 3,000 years, we believed that our peaceful bubble would never be threatened. Today you showed us how wrong we were. Tall alien with 6 arms raised one of them. Captain Morrison, we have been asking ourselves a question since your demonstration. If a hostile force came to our galaxy, what would we do? We have spent so much time learning to be peaceful that we have forgotten how to defend ourselves. Morrison felt the weight of responsibility settle on his shoulders. What are you asking me? Chancellor Vexhai stood up and walked to the crystal wall, showing the planet below. Captain, we are asking if humanity would consider a new kind of relationship with the Galactic Council. What kind of relationship? We want you to be our protectors. The room fell silent. Morrison stared at the Chancellor in surprise. I'm not sure I understand. Chancellor Vexhai turned back to face him. Captain, we have learned today that our peaceful civilization is completely defenseless. If someone wanted to conquer us, we could not stop them. We don't even know how to try.
Dr. Ross spoke carefully.
Chancellor, are you asking us to be your military? Yes, said the small gray alien who had spoken earlier. We want to offer humanity a special position in the galaxy, not as members of our council, but as our guardians. Morrison felt his mind racing. What would that mean exactly? It would mean that Earth would be responsible for protecting all 12 council worlds, Chancellor Vexhai explained. You would station your ships throughout our space. Your people would train our people in defense. In return, we would share all our technology with you, our medical knowledge, our faster-than-light travel, our energy systems, everything. A large alien with blue skin and tentacles instead of arms spoke up. Captain Morrison, we know this is a big responsibility. But we also know that humans understand something we have forgotten. You know that peace must be protected. Morrison looked around the table at all the worried alien faces. Chancellor, this is not a decision I can make alone. I would need to contact Earth and discuss this with my government. Of course, Chancellor Vexhai said. But Captain, there's something else you should know. Our long-range sensors have detected something troubling. The Chancellor pressed another button, and new images appeared on the walls. These showed dark space at the edge of the galaxy. 3 days ago, our sensors picked up energy signatures moving through dark space toward our galaxy. The signatures are large and numerous. We believe they are ships, but they are not responding to our communication attempts. Morrison studied the images carefully. How many ships? We estimate at least 100 large vessels, possibly more. They will reach the edge of Council space in approximately 6 months. Dr. Ross looked alarmed. Do you have any idea who they are or what they want? No, Chancellor Vexhai said quietly. But Captain Morrison, they are coming from the direction that the ancient enemy came from 3,000 years ago. The enemy that almost destroyed us all. Morrison felt a cold chill run down his spine. Are you saying the same species that fought you before is coming back? We don't know. But Captain, if they are hostile, we have no way to defend ourselves. Our peaceful civilization would be helpless against any species that has kept their weapons and their knowledge of war. The room was quiet for a long moment. Morrison thought about what the aliens were asking. They wanted humanity to become the guardians of an entire galactic civilization. It was a huge responsibility, but it was also an incredible opportunity. Chancellor Morrison said slowly, if we agree to this, it would change everything for both our species. Humanity would become responsible for protecting worlds we've never seen, people we've just met. Yes, Chancellor Vexhai replied. But Captain, you would also be saving a peaceful civilization that took 3,000 years to build. Is that not worth protecting? Morrison looked at Dr. Ross, who nodded slightly. Then he looked back at the aliens around the table. These beings had achieved something that humans had always dreamed of, a truly peaceful society. But peace, as Morrison had learned in his military career, was not something that just happened. It had to be protected. Chancellor, I'll send your proposal to Earth immediately. But I can tell you right now that if those unknown ships are hostile, the Titan will stand with you no matter what Earth decides. For the first time since the demonstration, Chancellor Vexhai smiled. Thank you, Captain Morrison. That gives us hope. 6 months had passed since Captain Morrison first met the Galactic Council. Now Admiral Morrison stood on the bridge of the Titan and watched as his fleet took position at the edge of Council space. 12 Earth warships spread out in a defensive, lined their weapons powered and ready. The response from Earth had been immediate and clear. Humanity would accept the role of protectors for the Galactic Council. Within weeks, every available Earth warship had been sent to Council space. The alien worlds had welcomed them with celebrations and relief. Lieutenant Sam Turner, Morrison's new chief of staff, walked up to him with a report in his hand. Admiral, all ships report ready for battle. The alien support vessels are in position. Behind us, Morrison looked at the data on his screen. The unknown fleet had finally arrived. 150 massive ships, each one larger than the Titan. They had ignored every attempt at communication from both humans and aliens. Their intentions were clear from their formation and approach. Any word from the Council worlds? Morrison asked. All 12 planets have their populations in emergency shelters. The alien leaders are coordinating from their command bunkers. They're scared, Admiral, but they trust us to protect them. Morrison nodded. It felt strange to have an entire galactic civilization depending on him and his ships. But over the past months, he had come to understand what the aliens had built. They had created something beautiful and peaceful. It was worth protecting. Dr. Ross's voice came through the communication system from the command ship. Admiral, we're still trying to establish contact with the incoming fleet. So far, they haven't responded to any of our messages. Keep trying, Doctor, but prepare for the worst. The enemy ships were now close enough for detailed scans. Commander Brooks studied her sensor readings with growing concern. Admiral, these ships are heavily armed. I'm reading weapon systems that are more advanced than anything we've seen before, and their armor is incredibly thick. Morrison studied the enemy formation. The ships moved with military precision, maintaining perfect spacing and coordination. Whoever was commanding them knew exactly what they were doing. Sir Turner reported, "We're getting a message from the enemy fleet." "Put it through." Cold, harsh voice filled the bridge. The speaker's words were translated, but the tone was clear even through the computer. "Surrender your weapons and prepare to be conquered. The weak civilizations of this galaxy will serve the Dakari Empire. Resistance will result in the complete destruction of your worlds." Morrison took a deep breath. "Turner, send a reply. Tell them that the Galactic Council is under the protection of Earth. We will not allow them to harm any innocent beings." The response came quickly. "Earth, we do not know this species. You will surrender or be destroyed with the rest." Admiral Brooks called out, "The enemy ships are powering up their weapons. They're preparing to attack." Morrison looked around his bridge at his crew. These men and women had trained their entire lives for this moment. They were ready to fight and die to protect the peaceful worlds behind them. "All ships, this is Admiral Morrison. The enemy has chosen war over peace. We will show them why that was a mistake. All ships engage the enemy." The battle began with a massive exchange of energy weapons. The Dakari ships fired first, sending enormous beams of red energy toward the Earth's fleet. But the human ships were ready. They scattered and moved in patterns that the Dakari had never seen before. Morrison watched as his ships used tactics developed through centuries of human warfare. They attacked in coordinated groups, focusing their fire on individual enemy ships. They used the asteroids and debris in the area as cover, appearing and disappearing like ghosts. The Dakari had superior technology and more ships, but they fought. Like a species that had been conquering weak opponents for too long, they expected their enemies to line up and be destroyed in orderly fashion. They were not prepared for the chaos and creativity of human military thinking. "Direct hit on enemy ship 7, Brooks reported. "Their shields are down. Enemy ship 12 is breaking formation." Morrison smiled grimly. The aliens were right to be afraid of these Dakari, but the Dakari made one big mistake. They never fought anyone who fought back. The battle continued for hours. The human ships took damage, but they gave much more than they received. Morrison watched as Dakari ships exploded one by one. their crews unprepared for the intensity of human warfare. The turning point came when Morrison ordered his ships to do something the Dakari could not understand. Instead of trying to destroy every enemy ship, the humans focused all their fire on the Dakari command vessel. Within minutes, the massive ship was disabled and drifting helplessly with their commander gone. The Dakari fleet fell into confusion. Some ships tried to retreat, others continued fighting, and a few tried to surrender. The humans methodically destroyed or captured each remaining enemy vessel. When the battle was over, Morrison stood on his bridge and looked at the debris field that had once been the Dakari invasion fleet. His ships had taken damage, but all 12 Earth vessels were still fighting. Admiral Turner reported, "We're receiving messages from all the Council worlds. They're celebrating. The populations are coming out of their shelters." Dr. Ross's voice came through the communication system. "Admiral Morrison, Chancellor Vexai wants to speak with you." The Chancellor's face appeared on the main screen. His blue skin was wet with tears of relief and joy. "Admiral Morrison, you have saved our entire civilization. How can we ever thank you?" Morrison thought for a moment. "Chancellor, you already have thanked us. You gave us a place in the galaxy and a purpose worth fighting for." Over the following weeks, as Morrison's fleet patrolled Council space and helped repair the damage from the battle, he began to understand what humanity had really gained. They had not just become the protectors of 12 alien worlds. They had become part of something larger than themselves. The aliens continued their peaceful research and exploration, but now they did so knowing they were safe. Human children attended schools on alien worlds, learning about science and art from species that had perfected both. Alien children learned about courage and sacrifice from the humans who protected their homes. Morrison often stood on the observation deck of the Titan and watched the alien worlds below. Cities of crystal and light spread across beautiful landscapes, filled with beings who had chosen peace over war. And somewhere in the darkness of space, human ships patrolled silently, making sure that peace could continue. He realized that humanity had found its true calling among the stars. They were not conquerors or explorers. They were guardians. Were the watchers who stood between the light and the darkness, making sure that those who chose peace could keep it. The galaxy was vast and dangerous, but it was also full of wonder and beauty. And as long as humans remembered their duty, that beauty would be protected.